First, apologies if you can hear the dryer running in the background. I try to get as far away from it as I could, but it's been acting up and being really loud, so it might come through. Sorry about that. But yeah, this video is going to be about why I don't really understand the hype about movie 3. Like, I've seen multiple lists of Harry Potter movies ranked worst to best, and this movie always seems to be near the top, and it's just like, don't get me wrong, I don't hate Prisoner of Azkaban. It's actually a pretty good movie, and there are a lot of things to compliment about this movie, and I'm gonna sprinkle a couple of them in later because I'd forgotten about them until I rewatched the film for this video, and I was just like, that's awesome. I like that. But there are also a lot of things, some of them little, some of them not so little, that I'm just like, they just kind of put it way down on the list of favorite Harry Potter movies for me. And I hate to say it because I know a lot of people seem to love the director for this movie, but that's one of the main cruxes I have with the film, the director. Alfonso Cuarón. I did not look up how to say that. I am so sorry if I just butchered that, but yeah, I personally feel it's weird to have someone who has not read the book series they're going to be adapting from direct a movie from that series. And I think it really showed in the film. I mean, there are some subtle and not so subtle things in the movie that kind of suggest that the focus was on spectacle and grandeur than trying to be faithful to the source material, if that makes sense. I mean, yes, the films needed to take on a darker tone to prepare for the events of Goblet of Fire, but this movie kind of took that and just ran with it. Like, this movie to me is darker than Goblet of Fire, which is weird considering the Goblet of Fire, if you think about it, is pretty dark. I mean, a couple of people die, someone is held against their will and impersonated for almost a year, and the crap that went down in the graveyard is like nightmare fuel. So yeah, definitely pretty dark. But yeah, somehow this film is darker to me, and I just don't think that's right. And I do think a good part of that is the directing choice. I went to his Wikipedia page to see if there was anything of note, and it did say that he faced criticism at the time of release due to his approach to the film, which I definitely see why, but I also couldn't believe when I read this on the same page. Critically, the film was also better received than the first two installments, with some critics remarking its new tone and for being the first Harry Potter film to truly capture the essence of the novels. What? Are you kidding me? Of all the Harry Potter movies to say that about, you choose the one that sticks out like a sore thumb from the rest of the franchise? What? Personally, I feel like Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets are both great at capturing the essence of the novels they're adapted from, but Prisoner of Azkaban? Get out of town. And I just feel that the movie tried way too hard to differentiate itself from the previous installments. Change should be gradual, not just, oh, this is kind of family friendly, this is darker but still family friendly, and what is going on here? And like I said, to me a lot of that can be accredited to the direction. And speaking of the director, something that has always irritated me about him that I have literally never seen anyone else criticize. Everyone always regards it as a cute story, and it just gets on my nerves. Have you seen how Alfonso wanted Daniel, Emma, and Rupert to write basically a character essay about their role? Everyone always is like, oh, that's so cute because everyone did it the way their character would. Emma wrote a 10-page essay, Daniel did 1 page, and Rupert just didn't do it at all. How cute. And don't get me wrong, that is adorable. But the thing it makes me wonder too is he hasn't read the books. It kind of felt like he was asking these child actors to do his homework for him, and no one else seems to see it that way. And I'm just like, somebody say something, please. It's driving me crazy. It really feels like that to me. Like, why couldn't you just pick up one of the novels and read for yourself? The character descriptions are pretty thorough. I do not like that. But another person I have a bit of a problem with, who worked on not just this movie, but multiple Harry Potter films, is, I believe, the screenwriter, Steve Kloves. He's a Hermione fan. Something I do not like about the films as a whole is the way that Ron kind of gets a really bad treatment. Like, he's left looking like the dumb comic relief, and to me that's just not fair, because Ron actually is smart. He's just more like street smart, you know? Given the fact that he was the only one of the trio to grow up in a magical household, and his father works at the ministry, he actually does have a lot to offer in the way of kind of being your foot into the magical community. But since Steve Kloves is such a Hermione fan, he himself said that he gives a lot of exposition and stuff to Hermione.
Steve, Hermione is a character who you've said in the past is one of your favourites. Does that make her easier to write?
Yeah, I mean, I like writing all three, but I've always loved writing Hermione because she's a tremendous character for a lot of reasons for a writer, which also she can carry exposition in a wonderful way because you just assume she read it in a book.
And even stuff that could have easily come from another character, like Ron, gets given to her, and it leaves Ron looking like this dumb know-nothing twit who is just there for comic relief, and it leaves Hermione looking like this all-knowing, super smart person who's never annoying, which she actually is. Like, Hermione has a lot of flaws. She's a total nag, and she's a total borderline snob sometimes, but since Steve Kloves is such a Hermione fan, I think he just wrote out all the bad stuff about her and just kept in what he liked, which I think is totally unfair. But you know, whatever, I'll address that as we come to it, because I'm just going to run through the film and just point out the types of things I'm talking about. And if you like the movie, please keep in mind this is just one person's opinion. These are just my thoughts. If you like it and you want to watch it every day, that's up to you. If you hate it and you want to buy popcorn literally just to throw at the screen, that's also up to you. And I don't know, I kind of want to do that now. I kind of want to film the TV and just throw popcorn at it. I won't. That's a waste of popcorn. Boo! It's not a waste of popcorn if you still eat it, though. Delicious. But anyway. So, the first problem I have with the movie is literally in the opening sequence, where Harry is practicing the Lumos spell in his room with the Dursleys. This is what I'm talking about, where it's clear that someone who does not know the books was at the helm. Has it not been well established that underage wizards are not allowed to practice magic at home? Did Harry not get in huge trouble in the previous film for Dobby's levitation spell? And yet here he is, doing magic over and over and over without any repercussion whatsoever, all for the sake of a funny opening. And the thing is, Vernon confirms that this should have been a problem not 5 minutes later when he says, "Away from me. You're not allowed to do magic outside school." But whatever, I guess. I have to say though, I do like the way Aunt Marge was handled. Aunt Marge has so little screen time, and it can't be easy to try and make it clear how unlikable she is in such a short span of time, but kudos, they definitely managed it. Heck, they even managed to show how much Petunia clearly dislikes her. That was funny. I never noticed that before. Yeah, lady, snap your fingers at me and I might snap them off. Also, I can't believe she was allowed to say bitch.
You see it all the time with dogs. If there's something wrong with the bitch, then there's something wrong with the pup.
Like, I personally don't mind, and it definitely shows why Harry got so mad. I can imagine some parents were like, what'd she say? Anyway.
They use a cane at St. Brutus's, boy?
Oh my god, so that's the scene this meme comes from. I love it. I can't unsee it now.
Shut up! Shut up!
Maybe this movie really isn't so bad. Shut up! Shut up! Like, who hasn't wanted to do that at some point? Anyway.
I don't care. Anywhere's better than here.
Anywhere's better than here. I don't know why, but the way he says that line has always cracked me up. And as a side, I also really like the way Harry pauses in the middle of the street after leaving, kind of showing like what happens when your anger burns off and you kind of realize you got nowhere to go. I don't know, there's just something about that hits home for me. And also, I'm sorry, but if I was alone by a park and stuff started moving and squeaking on its own, I would be gone. I'm sorry, but that's like horror movie level stuff. Like, you stay, you die. Like, Harry Potter turns into I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like, get out of there, Harry. Yeah, I'd definitely be looking to make sure it was gone too. For all you know, that thing was big enough to eat the bus. Also, I love this talking head. But if you jab them with a fork, they feel. And I love the group of talking heads too.
Wizards allowed in today. Shut the damn door.
So rude.
There's just something about talking heads bickering amongst themselves that makes me laugh so much. I remember when I was playing through Primal, I used to replay, what was it? Aetha? The Rainy World, anyway. It's been a while since I played it. No, I'm gonna remember. It's Solemn, Volca, Aquis, and I swear it's Aetha. I'm gonna Google that real quick. Yeah, it is Aetha. I'm not sure that's how you say it, but I had the name right. Point is, there's a section when you come across these talking heads that are bickering amongst themselves, and I used to replay that part just so I could hear that over.
Nobody here.
Oh, listen to her. You lose your head and you're nobody all of a sudden.
You are nobody, you skewered head fob. Guards! Guards, intruders! We have intruders in here! You bastard!
Nobody say a word. These are traitors.
Will you be quiet, fob?
It's so funny to me. That's one of the best things about this movie to me. Besides the soundtrack, because you gotta admit, movie 3 had a pretty cool soundtrack. Especially the Double Double Toil and Trouble song. Like, I feel a bit weird about Hogwarts suddenly having a choir that's never been seen before and will never be seen again. But I do like this song. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burning, cauldron bubble. My mom really hates that, by the way. I'm not allowed to do that around her. I'm also not allowed to sing the Put a Banana in Your Ear song, which is a shame because I think that song is hilarious. My mother does not. Anyway, funny, but let's be real. He'd be dead. And dead again. That kind of reminds me, one of my biggest problems with this movie is the casting of the new characters. Like, Lupin definitely isn't the worst offender, but I just feel kind of weird about it. Especially with the way he's further portrayed in the movie. In the books, you get the impression that Lupin is a very understanding and a very kind character. And when you find out his backstory, it definitely makes more sense. And in the movies, he's still that way, but he's also quite almost rude at times. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. I think it's mostly this scene that does it for me.
A red handbag.
You don't need to hear.
It's probably due to my own personal history with people talking over me, but I cannot stand it when people ask me a question and I go to respond and they cut across me. Like, I find that so rude. I cannot stand it. And the fact that Lupin did it, it just makes me go And if I wasn't a fan of the way Lupin was cast, it is nothing compared to the way I feel about how Dumbledore was cast in this movie. Like, I know that Richard Harris passed away between movies 2 and 3, and they had to recast the role in order to go on, but I just can't stand Michael Gambon as Dumbledore. Especially since, well, I don't want to go too deep into it because I'm working on a video of characters I feel maybe weren't cast the best in the series, and he is on the list, so I don't want to, end up repeating myself. But basically, it's like they recast his entire character, not just the person playing him. Dumbledore was so wise and venerable and kind and soft-spoken, and then you get this guy who, first of all, is boring. I'm sorry. Every time he's talking, I stop paying attention. And then there are times where he is just not very nice. Like, definitely more so in Goblet of Fire, but there is a scene or two in this film where it's just like, Dumbledore would never do that! Stop ruining his character! Stop it! But yeah, just so you know, I do not like this guy as Dumbledore. Something else the movie is really bad for: wasting screen time on annoying scenes that did not need to be in there. Like this fat lady screaming thing. There was no point to this. Maybe they were trying to remind us that she's a thing, so when she's attacked by Sirius Black later, we recognize her, but you didn't need to have her screaming. They could have just talked to her about the password or something. It's like, this was such a waste of screen time, and it's so annoying. Although, the scene that comes after it, this one...
What is that? Do not give him one again.
Oh... This is my least favorite scene in the entire movie. I hate this scene and I never watch it, so we're moving on. Okay, so this brings me to one of my biggest problems with the characterizations in this movie, and I'll definitely talk about it more later, but Hermione. The sheer amount of gaslighting she does, particularly towards Ron, is ridiculous, and I am surprised she does not get called out for it more. I mean, I know it was supposed to be a secret and she wasn't supposed to tell anyone she had it, which, you know, smart, letting it hang out of your shirt like that for everyone to see, especially in a class that is filled with people who were mostly raised in a magical environment and might just recognize a time turner and be like, where did you get that? But just because you're not allowed to tell someone the truth does not mean you have to lie, and you definitely don't have the right to try and make them think that, oh, they're just crazy.
Hang on, that's not possible. Ancient runes on the same time as divination. You have to be in 2 classes at once.
Don't be silly, Ronald. How could anyone be in 2 classes at once? It's a load of rubbish.
Where did you come from?
Me? Been here all this time.
It's like, he's not. He's right. There's a way to go about that. Like, she could have just said something like, Ron, I fixed my classes with McGonagall before the start of term. Now, why don't you pay more attention to your classes before you fail? Or something. Just anything. And also, thanks to the characterization in this movie, and I suspect Steve Kloves being a Hermione fan, there is also in the book a huge level of tension between Ron and Hermione over the Crookshanks going after Scabbers thing. And you get to see just how self-centered Hermione can be. And pretty much all that was cut out for the film. I know the film did not have the time to go into it like the book did, but like it really irritates me the way the movie just glosses over the fact that Hermione really was not a great friend to Harry and Ron in Prisoner of Azkaban. She did not give a crap that her cat did exactly as it pleased, even if that meant killing what they all believed to be Ron's family pet. She didn't even try and have a discussion with Harry over the firebolt. She just went straight to a teacher and tattled, and it got taken away from him. On Christmas, by the way, wasn't that? Which, really? And then continuing to threaten to turn Harry in for sneaking into Hogsmeade and likely get him in heaps of trouble, which is like, hey Hermione, newsflash, Sirius has already gotten in the castle. Maybe Harry isn't automatically the safest there. Maybe he's safest where there's a frickin' group. Ever think of that? But no, the movie barely addresses any of this at all. They pretty much cut out the whole firebolt thing. They really toned down the whole Crookshanks and Scabbers thing. And then her nagging was just non-existent in the film. Instead of being annoying like she was in the book, she was all, ha ha ha, Harry, you're here with us. She did not give a flip at all. And it's just like, Steve Kloves, I get that you're a Hermione fan, but you are way too nice on her character.